guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today is the day that I finally get to work on basically upgrading my Hammond collection Allosaurus. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I've just been super busy with, getting reviews up and just life in general. Things have been pretty hectic for me over the past month or two, maybe even a little bit longer. Life has just been pretty rough, but I again have been intending on repainting this and kind of giving it a more realistic look for quite some time. Now what I'm really going to do with this is I'm going to paint off of what we already have. I'm not going to give it a total base coat and start over. I'm basically just going to continue on from where we are. The first thing I'm going to do is actually just add a little bit more blue to the figure. Just a little variation of blue I think will help to make some of the blues pop a little more, and of course just add a little bit more depth to the paint job overall. Now I'm going to take some territorial beige and I'm going to use it all throughout the lower part of the dinosaur, basically dry brushing it over a lot of the scales to help, give it a little variation of color and also highlight the scales a bit more realistically. Now I'm going to take some of this pavement gray and I'm basically just going to use it to darken some of the areas of the blue. I'm also going to sort of use it to transition the blue into the lighter tones on the body, just kind of smooth out those transitions and reshape it a little bit to make it more similar to the way it actually looks on the Allosaurus. I also want to darken the end of the tail because Mattel for some reason didn't paint the end of the tail, so I'll get that done as well. Now I've taken some burnt umber paint and I've watered it down heavily so that I can turn it into a wash, and I'm going to apply the wash all over the lighter tones of the figure, and then after I'm done that I'm going to go back and dry brush a lot of the detail out again to make it pop a little bit nicer. Again, just continuing to add layers of paint and more life to the figure. Now I'm adding a little bit of khaki to, dry brush the scales out as well, just to, again, give it a little bit more variation of color and just, mix it up a bit when it comes to the colors in the lower part of the dinosaur. I think more variation is always better. I'm also going to take some more khaki and kind of dry brush over a lot of the blue really lightly. Like most of the paint has got to come off of the brush just so I can highlight the scales a little bit, and then after that I'm going to go through it with a variation of gray to kind of dry brush over that and darken it back up a little bit, but just again finding a way to highlight the scales realistically. So now I'm pretty much done with this aside from a few minor things. I'm going to add just a little bit of chestnut brown to the side of the figure figure, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some Tuscan red to the face to just give it that little bit of red that we see in the face. And then of course I'll paint the eyes, I will paint the teeth, and give a little bit of paint to the inside of the mouth, but not much for the most part. I'm going to let that be pretty much the way it is. And then of course we will come back from there and check it out when it's finished. And the Allosaurus is finished, and I'm actually really quite happy with the way it turned out. I think overall, you know, I've basically captured the likeness of the Jurassic World Allosaurus. It's kind of tough to get it down perfectly because there are sort of like different versions of the same sort of dinosaur. Like, I feel like the way it looks in Chaos Theory is a little bit different from the way it looks in Battle at Big Rock, and I believe they're meant to be the same Allosaurus if I'm not mistaken. So it's interesting, again, when you try to come up with like a perfect idea of what the Allosaurus should look like. It can be a little tricky, but overall I feel like I've taken pretty much the elements of all of the different Allosaurus like concept art and everything that I've seen, as well as the dinosaur style guide from Marco Makes, and utilized it to try to create the Allosaurus in the best and most faithful way possible to what it looks like in the shows and in that short film. And again, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think overall it definitely looks really good, and I feel like it's another of those instances where Mattel absolutely destroys it when it comes to their sculpt, and again, the paintwork of their figures just truly never does the sculpt justice. It's not until you get a more realistic paint job on the figure that you can truly appreciate how good the sculpt actually is. And of course, when we turn the Allosaurus around, you're going to see it, you know, have a more healthy eye and stuff over here compared to what we saw on the opposing side, which again does feature the blind eye and the injuries and stuff. And of course, all of the articulation is still going to work just as it did before, because Mattel does a good job on the joints of their figures. Like, for the most part, it doesn't feel like there's really any rubbing or anything when I move the dinosaur around, so that's definitely a great thing as far as the, you know, joints and articulation and everything goes. Should help to keep the figure, at least as far as the paint job goes, in pretty good shape overall. So definitely happy with my final product. I'm very excited to hear what you guys think of it though, and if you're going to try this out with your Allosaurus, if you want to try to give it a little bit more of like a realistic paint job, more reminiscent to what you actually see again on screen to the Allosaurus. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and of course if you're going to do this with yours, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.